forget it. Don't you make me forget it. Looks good. All right. Let's bring it back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, welcome to Geek Smack, the pre-show on YouTube. Over at youtube.com/Geekazine. Think Magazine, put in a geek. You've got Geekazine. How you all doing today? That's my Jerry Seinfeld impersonation. How y'all doing today? It's a great day here. Great day. I hope you're having a fun time. I hope you're having a great time. Just checking out the stream, making sure everything is up and running. And we are in the pre-show. So today we're going to be talking about a lot of great stuff. And we're going to be talking about basically Google Reader. That's the main subject here. But of course, we've got some other great stuff that we're going to be talking about as we go. So that's interesting. The live doesn't go. The live goes when I hit the preview button, not when I hit the live button. So I'm going to have to keep that in mind when I start to do this show. So, okay. So looks like everything's hunky and or dory, and we've got a great show going for you today. So I'm hoping, I hope you come to the show. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you are part of the show. I'm going to actually go back and kind of promote this really quick. But first of all, hey, I want to get you, want to tell you what's going on here because, this is the pre-show. This is where you get the blog, the vlog information, the stuff that's going on with me and stuff like that. Of course, I got many, many different great shows here. And let me, there we go. Copy link address. And I'll go over to my plus page. So anyway, lots of great shows. Of course, Geek Smack is the flagship show for Geekazine. iPad 365. It's since the holiday weekend falls on Thursday. I decided not to do iPad 365 for this week. Next week, it will be back with more iPad apps that you can get for yourself. Streaming the show live now. All right, so now we've got that going. We've pushed it out. We'll push it out to Twitter as well. Copy, and then we'll go share. But anyway, welcome to the show. I know I'm kind of off on a tangent right now, but basically, no show for iPad 365. I got to figure out this whole part, but this is the vlog part of it, so you can see me do some behind the scenes work because I've got two computers to deal with. I've got lots of content that I'm putting on here, so I hope that it's where's the login? There we go. Sign up, login. There we go. So I hope you enjoy what we've got here. This week in Google Glass is up and up for this week, and of course a few of the stories I talk about here I will be talking about there as well, including the meeting Steve Wozniak for the second time in my life. It didn't work. Come on, let's try that. So really, pretty sure that's the password. Well, okay. So we did this week in Google Glass. Of course, day in tech history. Oh, that's why. Multitasking is something that's fun sometimes. There we go. That should work. There we go. How you doing? This week in Google Glass Up, day in tech history. Of course, every single day. That doesn't change at all. So you can check that out over there. And why did that do that? I didn't want that. But I do want... What are you doing? Stop it. Stop it. I kind of miss the... you switch from a PC to Mac, and you have one thing happen on one and another thing happen on the other. Most likely the scrolling, two finger scrolling versus one finger scrolling, and it's tough when you have to go back and forth, but you get used to it. And every now and then, you just kind of miss on something or whatnot. So, all right, there we go. And send that off. All right. So the shows, I talked about the shows, and I babbled on about that for a little bit. Sorry about that. We'll just get that out of the way, and we'll go here. I got to go to Ford last week, which was really cool. I've been to Ford several times, and going to Ford again. Of course, you get to see the Henry Ford Museum, awesome in its own right, and it always changes. It always changes, and so there's something new every single time, and I'm really excited about that. But of course, we got to see the unveiling of their poster that they had with Ford, and I have it in the other room. I should have brought it in with me, but it basically was Ford's motto, getting a car for everybody. Everybody gets a car, and that's the important thing is for that. And they restored the photo, and we got the unveil. Of course, I got that video up on youtube.com/Geekazine. You can go over there, Geekazine.com. I'm going to be writing a post later today once I get the final videos up there, and I'll show all the videos in one post. So lots of stuff. I got to drive a Ford F-150, the Lariat version. We drove some wood to Habitat for Humanity as they were building their 100th home in Detroit. And it was really weird because there was a lot of rundown houses in Detroit, in the area that we were in. And it's amazing. You go from where where the houses are pretty much condemned to where the houses are rebuilt, and it's night and day. But it's pretty interesting to see that whole area. We dropped off the wood, we went back, and went from there. Then we went on to the track, and we played with the Ford Fiesta for a little while on speed trials. There was a kick a soccer ball into the net, and then of course a coloring contest where you could color a Ford Fiesta. So lots of fun. Met Steve Wozniak, met up with Molly Wood. I met Seth Godin for the first time, which was really cool. And of course, all the guys from Ford, they're awesome to talk to and get insight from. So I'm really happy to have been part of that once again. All right. Hey, like I said, videos over at youtube.com/Geekazine. You can tweet me at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com for any questions. And the hotline is 608-205-4378. I have my date for Google Glass. I haven't scheduled it completely yet because of the fact that I was really hoping that I could have went to New York today to get my Google Glass. I talk about that on This Week in Google Glass. Basically, they're talking about a new type of customer support. But if you live in New York, San Francisco, or LA, that's the new type of customer support. It's not customer support for somebody that lives like me in the Midwest. And going to I'm using my own miles that I could have used on a vacation trip to go get Google Glass. And that's what's really sad about that. And I had an opportunity to get to New York and get my glass, and me not having to pay for the travel that much, and it basically said no. So if you want to see the whole story, go over to This Week in Google Glass, the episode, and I talk about it wholeheartedly, what happened. So don't worry, I'm still getting my Google Glass. the first thing that happened when I posted the video is somebody commented back, "You're still getting your Google Glass, right?" Yeah, I'm still getting Google Glass. I still have a show about Google Glass. It's still valid, just because it's $1,633. But I do have a donate page up on This Week in Google Glass, and if you want to go up and donate to This Week in Google Glass, I would appreciate it very, very much. Donations start at $5. I'll be making T-shirts for This Week in Google Glass, and at a certain level, you can get T-shirts, and there's backer levels basically. So back $5, $20, $100, or even just pay for my glass outright, $1,500, and I'd be very appreciative. And everything's over there on twig.tv, twigg.tv. You can go there. Speaking of t-shirts, Geekazine t-shirt will be here. I was hoping to get it done today. I've gotten into screen printing again. I did it a long time ago. I got the band. Our t-shirts are pretty much being made on a per shirt basis. But I started with the screen for Geekazine. I've had a problem with the emulsion on it, and the first one it just failed miserably. So I started over. And the second one, I went to the burn process, and the emulsion just washed off. So I'm not exactly sure why. It's been the same emulsion this whole time, but maybe it's gotten to its end of life. I don't know. But the whole point is that I gotta go get some new emulsion and emulsion cleaner to clean off the screen and start a third time. But I'm hoping by next week the first of the Geekazine t-shirts will be out. You can donate to Geekazine.com to get a t-shirt, and that's going to be $20, and you'll get a nice Geekazine t-shirt, and of course some other things as we go from there. But and I'm hope to have it for next week and show it to you on of course the show. What else we got? Google Glass, talked about that. Twig, and the other thing about this week in Google Glass is I decided to add an MP3 faction to it. So now you can watch the video on MP4, you can watch it on your Roku's, on your Apple TV. You can also listen to the show in MP3 format. And go up to iTunes, just look for This Week in Google Glass. You'll see the audio version and the video version, and go for this. So, all right. Well, like I said, July 4th. It's 4th of July. Happy Independence Day for all those who celebrate. And yes, there was a couple days ago Canada Day, so happy Canada Day for all those who celebrate. And just have some fun. Just sit back, relax. I'm actually going to be doing a new venture. I'm going to be writing a book, and it's going to be fun. And I've already got I'm already into the first chapter. I'm going to get halfway through the book, and then I'm going to present it to some people to see if it's something that can continue on, that we can go from there. So really excited about that. So other than that, that's pretty much it. We're going to get into the show note, or the actual show here. So basically what's going to happen at this point is it's going to go to the Geek Smack logo for about 5 seconds. And then that's when the actual show will start. If you go to Geekazine.com and you consume it from Geekazine.com, at that point, that's where you see the show. And I just blaze over what I just talked about really quick and then get right into the show, because that's what people are here for, is to find out news and content. And I appreciate the fact that you're here for the live part, so you can see what I'm doing and how I'm blogging and how I'm working through all of this. So I'm really happy that you are here. Thank you very much. Come to the live show. We'll be doing this every single week, and go from there. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, here we go. This is the show, so just stick around 5 seconds, and we'll be back into the show. Here we go.
This is the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, Jeffrey Powers here. Welcome to Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek out of you like Google smacks the geek out of the reader. We're talking about Google Reader, why Google shut down Reader, and what alternatives you have out there if you do use Reader. I don't use Reader or Reader. I don't use either of them, and there's reasons why, and I'll talk about that, of course, during the show. We've got a lot of great tech news for you, including Zynga's new CEO, including Mario getting an HD upgrade, and a whole bunch more. Today, we're brought to you by our friends over at GoDaddy.com, where you can save yourself 35%. Of course, Day in Tech History, and Roku, where you can get yourself a Roku for starting at $50, but the Roku 3 at $100. So let's get into this week's show for this week. That's this week. Let's geek it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, welcome to Geekazine and Geek Smack, the show where we smack the geek out of you on a weekly basis. We're up live on YouTube. If you are around Tuesday afternoons at about 1 p.m. Eastern, maybe during a lunch break or something like that, come on down, watch the show absolutely live. But if you're on the recorded version, You just missed the first 15 minutes where I just kind of babbled on about t-shirts and stuff like that. I'll give you the quick rundown really quick. I went out to Detroit. I got to play with the Ford F-150s and the Ford Escorts. Got a lot of great car technology. Met Steve Wozniak for the second time. He got to see Google Glass for the first time. I also got t-shirts in the hopper, ready to go. Geekazine t-shirts. We'll have them by next week. You can donate to Geekazine $20 and you can get yourself a t-shirt. You can watch all the videos right now for Ford over at youtube.com/Geekazine, youtube.com/Geekazine. And then, of course, my Google Glass. I do have a date. I was really hoping that today I could find a time to squeeze in and go from there. I talk about it on Google Glass this week in Google Glass, how I tried to get to New York so I could pick up the glass. I was stopped by Google. So you're going to have to watch This Week in Google Glass to find out all that information there. Speaking of This Week in Google Glass, the 7th episode is now out. You can check it, and I've actually added an MP3 in audio format to it, so you can watch video or you can listen to the audio through iTunes. So go ahead and do that. They're doing some road construction a block over, so they're ripping up the road, so you might hear some rumbling in the background. That is what that is. And all this on the pre-firework edition of Geek Smack. So let's smack the geek out of you and get into your tech news for this week. If this is the first time you've come, thank you very much. Let's check it out. This week's episode of Geek Smack, our Tech Smack from Geek Smack, is brought to you by our friends over at GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy.com, where I do have all of my websites placed, and a lot of, I have my SSL certificate. I have all the domains. I'm actually waiting on a brand new domain that will bring a new version of Geekazine into the fold. So I can't wait for that to happen. It's on back order right now. So I'm waiting for that. Of course, you can get web hosting. You can get a quick hosting there. They've got these one-page host systems that are just awesome. I've used them in the past, and they're great ways to get a quick domain up and running while your server guy is actually making the main domain. If you're a podcaster, check this all out. We've got a promo code that you can use. All you have to do is go to the link over at Geekazine, and then at checkout, you enter in the promo code WOWazine. Just like Geekazine, except with a wow. So think magazine, put in a wow, WOWazine. And that's over. We'll show you the page here at GoDaddy.com. This is the full page here. You can save yourself 35%. I'm saying it again, 35%. And if you use WOWazine as a referral at checkout. So check it all out over at, of course, if you go geekazine.com/GoDaddy deal, then you're golden right there. So check it all out over at geekazine.com/GoDaddy deal. Remember the code WOWazine. WOWazine. It's something like Shaggy should say. Hey Scoobs, it's a little WOWazine. Really? Anyway, let's get into your tech news for today. We're gonna start over at USA Today because we love the way the USA Today say. We say USA Today, something like that. Tech stocks are changing for Zynga because the CEO changed. They actually got a new CEO. The previous CEO decided to step down. And, of course, Xbox also is taking a step down, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But because of that, they're hoping that Zynga and Xbox can do some marriagey stuff together, and maybe Zynga will start to rise once again. Of course, they've closed a lot of their games in the past. The only one that's still up and still the most popular is their Farmville game. So we'll see what happens with Zynga. I visited Zynga last September. That's if you go to my Twitter page, twitter.com/Geekazine, you can actually see me jumping in the tunnel. That's the entrance to Zynga. So I'm really hoping that Zynga can straighten out their problems and get back on track. You go from a giant to not so giant. You want to get back up there as quick as possible. So if you want to check out more of that, go over to usatoday.com and you can get all that information right there. All right, let's move on from there. But by the way, if you want to comment on anything, you can feel free to do so. Twitter handle is right here, Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com, and the hotline is 608-205 4378 for any questions. If you want to comment on the show, you can even go to youtube.com/Geekazine, find the episode, do a video comment, and we'll show it for next week. All right, let's move on from there. We're going, let me close a couple things here. We're going over to the bbc.co.uk. Yahoo, a couple things from Yahoo. Yahoo is first shutting down the Alta Vista service. Now you got to remember, this is the 90s, and Alta Vista was part of the 90s internet revolution. In fact, it was the first internet service provider that many people got onto. Not internet service provider. You know what I mean. The whole point is that it's part of the 90s revolution, and Yahoo bought it in 2002, I think it was. And so they decided, well, it's done. It's time to actually bring Alta Vista Search back into Yahoo. It's actually not a bad idea. I don't know if Microsoft has any hands on this Alta Vista Search, which means that Yahoo can bring it back in, and Yahoo has search again, not Microsoft Bing Search. So I'm pretty interesting to see what's going to happen here. July 8th is the magic date, so if you want to check out the old web back then, you can go over to Alta Vista until July 8th when it gets shut down. Moving on from there, we're going to go over to cnet.com. Speaking of Yahoo, they integrated Flickr with email, and they added new search alerts. So basically what happens, you can now take a picture, you go into your Yahoo email, and you'll be able to search from your pictures in Yahoo so you can send those pictures. It's like, hey, buddy, we had a great time at the lake. Here's the pictures. They're up on my Flickr site. So that's a great advancement with Yahoo. I applaud them for putting that, and it makes the email a little bit better. Although they still have to work on their spam filters, because I get way too much spam stuff in my Yahoo. Yeah, I do have a Yahoo email account. I had that before, of course, before Gmail even showed up. So I keep that because, you know, when they start changing things, I want to see what they're changing. So anyway, let's move on from there. Actually, before we move on from there, I forgot something in the opening part. I said I went to Ford. Right here is the badge. Let's do this. Let's take the badge. Of course, we have the holo badges. Here's my Ford badge, and these were all the sessions that I went to right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this into the badge area. Can't believe I forgot that. So we're going to do that right now. The badge area that, CES, South by Southwest, NAB, all these other events that I've gone to, they're right here, and all the badges in the last 5 years that have been doing Geekazine. So pretty cool stuff, and now it's in the holo badges. So let's move on from there. Let's go over to technet.microsoft.com. I remember TechNet. I haven't used TechNet in a long time, but it was a very valuable tool for IT professionals. And you would pay a few $1,000s, and every month you'd get, well, the first month you'd get like 3 long boxes. They look like boxes like you'd store baseball cards into. It was really interesting. But inside of them were discs, and they had everything from the Windows operating system to the server operating system to all the programs that you could get, Exchange Server or this or that, and you get all the discs. Of course, you'd need the licensing, and that comes separate. So you can't just put the disc in and say, I'm installing Exchange and I don't need to pay for it because I paid for my TechNet subscription. No, you just get the software. You'd have to get a license for it. And then if you got the license, you can put it all together, and poof, you could put your server system together. And of course, IT professionals, TechNet was the place to go for everything. Well, now Microsoft is saying, TechNet, it's time to get your TechNet subscriptions before August 31st, because they're going to retire the TechNet subscription system. They're going to honor all existing TechNet subscriptions, but they're going to do it through September 30th, 2013. And I think the reason why, excuse me, I had to take some water. I think the reason why was because everything's going to the cloud. You can get all your information from the cloud. So having a TechNet subscription, I have a feeling that they're going to put something new together and offer it to, if they already haven't, to IT professionals. I haven't really had my finger on that pulse as of late. So there might be a new system out there that replaces TechNet. But for now, TechNet is going bye-bye. getting a TechNet subscription is pretty expensive. So, it's for corporate use pretty much. And it also answers a lot of questions like blue screen errors and stuff like that. So I'm guessing they're going to be rerouting it into something new. But for now, TechNet is going to go bye-bye. If you want to read more on that, we've got the direct link to the blog itself. Moving on from there, we're going over to PCMag.com. Google Glass app for all you Tesla owners. Do you own a Tesla? I've got mine parked out in the back. Not really. But anyway, if you do own a Tesla and you do have a pair of Google Glass, well, guess what? You now have the ability to actually download an app that will turn your Google Glass into remote control. That's pretty cool. So you'll be able to see how long it charges. You'll see if you can unlock the doors, lock the doors, stuff like that. A lot of cool stuff. And the Glass app, of course, is called Glass Tesla. So you can go over to the project's website. It's an unofficial app billed as wearable computing meets the electric car. So if you want to read more on that, go over to PCMag.com. And if you've got a Tesla, feel free to take a video and send it to me on you using your remote for your Tesla. That'd be cool. All right, let's get into the rumor mill here a little bit. Apple iWatch is getting some real ramp up rumors. The big one is that, and I can't show you this is over on abcnews.go.com because they show a copyright picture of Mickey Mouse. But anyway, they say that the iWatch domain has been acquired, or a patent has been acquired, not in the United States though. So they're working on various new parts to the product, but it looks like it's going forward with their smartwatch device. I'm guessing what it's going to be. It's going to be the Nano that's going to be turned into a watch, simply because of the fact somebody already did it, and it only makes sense. So we're going to see what happens. He talked about it at All Things Geek conference. He said it was going to be an interesting and natural spot for wearable devices. So we'll see what happens. And pretty cool stuff. Now we're getting into the wearable technology era with Google Glass, with wristwatches from Apple, and another one called Pebble, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on the show. So check that out. Let's move on from there. We're going over to ubergizmo.com. If you ever wonder about iPhone and iPad apps, and especially those apps that end up getting into the top 10 apps, you wonder how much do they have to make? Well, right now, they put everything together, and they basically said apps have to require $47,000 a day to earn their spot in the App Store as the top 10 paid apps. So, Bad Piggies, Pocket Climber, Arms Central Global, Minecraft, Fruit Ninja, these are all making $47,000 a day. That's some money. That's for sure. Monopoly, that's the game I play all the time when I go on flights, because if I don't have a Wi-Fi, I just pull up Monopoly and I can see if I can beat those guys. Silly hat and silly car. But yeah, that's the one app I really use on flights. Fruit Ninja not as much, Tetris not as much. Angry Birds, I do have Star Wars Angry Birds on my iPad. But this is pretty interesting. If you ever wonder what it takes to get to the top 10 list in the iPad apps, that's what it is, $47,000 a day. A day. Could you imagine if your app hit $47,000 a day? You'd be like, woohoo! I'm better than Zynga. I don't know. Are you better than Zynga? Let me know. Twitter me over at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com. And the hotline is 608-205-4378. All right, I'm going to take another slug of water, and then we're going to get back into the Geek Smack area. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Google Reader, why its demise is happening, what you can do to replace it, and why I don't like that free feed readers like that anyway. So we will be right back. You are watching Geek Smack. Of course, Geek Smack is brought to you by my other website, Day in Tech History, over at www.dayintechhistory.com. where September 15th, I will be celebrating the 1500th episode of Day in Tech History. It runs 365 days a year. Started as This Week in Tech History off of the Geekazine Quickcast, and then I moved it onto its own show. Did a podcast a day for 365 days since August 9th, 2009. And now here it is coming up to the 1500th episode. Really excited about it. It's over at www.dayintechhistory.com. Of course, it being Tuesday, Napster shut down on this day in tech history in 2001. Of course, it got revised, and then Best Buy ended up buying it. I don't remember who owns Napster now, but that's what happened on July 2nd in tech history back in 2001. Of course, July 4th, if you're searching for a podcast on July 4th that's brand new, just come here. Day in Tech History, new podcast, starts at 5:30 in the morning, and you can go from there. So check it out over at www.dayintechhistory.com. All right, let's get into the next section, the Geek Smack of everything. And we're going to start over at thenextweb.com. Facebook for Windows Phone. You thought it was dead. It's coming back to life. They're redesigning it. High-res pictures, post-sharing, timeline view, a lot more. They basically just throwing new features in and making it a little bit better. And you can get it. Microsoft announced the major update for the Facebook for Windows Phone. You can download the version at the phone store. So it's actually the phone that, the phone you might have bought before, but now you just get a new update for it. So they're not that means the Facebook phone is not dead just yet, and they're going to try and do something with it. So we'll see what happens here, and I go from that. Not like the Microsoft I want to say Pebble, but I know that's wrong. The Microsoft 1 and 2 phones, the little clamshell phones that they made, but those were like low end smartphones, whereas this actually has a little bit of juice to it. Not, top of the line Samsung Galaxy S4, iPhone 5 or type processors, but it will have enough to Facebook, email, Twitter, stuff like that. So anyway, if you want to read more, go over to thenextweb.com. Of course, we have all the links in the show notes. Go over to geekazine.com, go to the post, you'll see the show notes, and click on the links that you want to read and go from there. All right, that's the best reader right there because it's a link to the page as opposed to taking all their content and just regurgitating it. But we'll talk about that later. Right now, we're going over to Bloomberg over at businessweek.com. Bloomberg is talking about Firefox Android rival smartphone brought to you by Google. So they went on sale in Spain. Let's bring this up here really quick. They went in sale on Spain. Yeah, that's right. There we go. They're expected. They're really ramping it up. So if you are a fan of the Firefox operating system, the new operating system it will be coming out very soon. And I don't know how it's going to rival to Chrome or Windows Phone. I don't know if we need another phone in the market, another operating system phone in the market. But eventually, it's going to either knock one out or just kind of show up and fizzle out. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, if you want to check out more, this article is over at businessweek.com. Like I said, we'll have the link in the show notes so you can get that information there. All right, Sprint is finally closing out the Nextel network. They bought Nextel a few years ago, 2005, if I remember correctly, and they bought it for $35 billion. There were a lot of people that, this is a great idea. I'll give Sprint the leg up that it needs to kind of push maybe to the second best network or something like that. It did, and it didn't work, and a lot of people complain. Nextel's kind of holding them back. Well, Nextel service basically it's time to go. So goodbye to Nextel. If you want to read more on that, we've got the link over at WSJ.com. Talking about wearable devices, let me just load up the rest of this stuff here. Talking about wearable devices, the Pebble is now, they said by the end of the week, but it's now showing up in certain Best Buys throughout the nation. So a Pebble is the wearable watch that you can Bluetooth connect to your smartphone and get like text messages, who's calling, stuff like that. So you don't have to pull out your phone and find out who's calling. So if you want to get yourself a Pebble smartwatch, I think the prices are pretty decent. About $150 is what they're saying. So if you want to read more on that, we've got thedroidguy.com. That's where we're reading that from. You can check that out there. Xbox One has replaced basically they replaced their CEO or their chief, and that's not CEO, the chief of the Xbox division, Don Matrick. And who did they replace it? Did they find some big gamer? Somebody that that knows what they're doing in the gaming market? No, they get Steve Ballmer. Steve Ballmer, I'll just head it off. We need to figure out this whole Xbox One thing. So, wouldn't you want a gamer to head the division of the game company? And there's a lot of smart gamers out there that could do it. Why does Steve Ballmer have to do it? Why? It boggles my mind when I read this. Every time I read this, Steve Ballmer putting his hands in not letting somebody else take care of a division. Let Steve take care of the company, which you're not doing that great of a job in a lot of people's eyes, and let somebody handle Xbox and Xbox One and do it right. And then get rid of the stupid gold memberships. I don't want to pay $30 a year so I can watch my Netflix on Xbox. So dumb. Not a big fan of Xbox. You might have heard that in there. So anyway, if you want to read more on that, go over to geek.com. I do have an Xbox 360, by the way, and it just kind of sits there. The reason why I have it is because I have Media Center on the PC right here, and then I record my shows, and then I use Xbox 360 to push the shows like the DVR system so I can watch them. So anyway, over at geek.com, you can read that article. Our friends over at geek.com, which they just did a site redesign, which was pretty cool. All right, let's move on from there. We're going over to PCMag.com, the new Canon EOS 70D. I've got a link in the show notes, just so you know. It's an affiliate link with B&H. If you want to get your hands on a Canon 70D, go ahead and choose that in the show notes. Of course, that helps Geekazine keep the lights on. I really appreciate it. So they have the 60D you can get for $600, but the 70D is going, and I might just test this out. When I go to New York, I'm going to stop at B&H and get my hands on the 70D and see how this works, because these cameras are supposed to be the next generation of video cameras. I've got a Sony 260 CV that you're watching me from right now, and it's a great camera, and it's a regular video point and shoot type camera. I've been debating on getting into SLR video because of the lenses, because I can't do half of the stuff that I can do with an SLR. Like, for instance, in the background, I could actually take this, make this happen, so I'm nice and clear in the foreground, and it's all blurry in the background, if I wanted to. Other things, I can put in different types of lenses. There's only limited amounts of lenses for this camera out here. But a DSLR, oh man, there's tons of lenses I could get. So that's why I'm really excited on this. So if you want to read more on this, go over to PCMag.com. Yeah, that is John Cena behind me, by the way. Go over to PCMag.com. Somebody actually asked me, is that John Cena behind you? Yeah, it was. I saw him at South by Southwest, took a picture. So anyway, go over to PCMag.com for that. We're going over to Wall Street Journal. Car service app expands for Uber. Now, if you've never rode in an Uber, if you've never done Uber, it's a great experience. I have the Uber app on my phone when I go to New York, when I go to San Francisco, especially now that I guess BART is on strike. So I can't take the BART system, which really sucks, but can't take the BART system to downtown San Francisco. Cabs, they're okay. Get an Uber. Download. Basically what you do is you put the app onto your phone, you give them your credit card information, and then when you need an Uber, you just say, hey, I need an Uber here. I'm at the airport. I'm at here. And then a black car comes for you. Not a limousine. Sometimes it's even like a Prius or something like that. But most of the times you get a nice black car and you can drive to wherever you are. It's pretty inexpensive. Probably not for here, because now they're offering two new services, one for the Hamptons and one for helicopters. There's actually going to be a helicopter service coming through Uber, and that's for, so you can get to islands that you can't normally get to. maybe a ferry crosses it or something like that. But you now can get to, as long as there's a helipad somewhere, you can get to it via helicopter. Minimum fares in New York are $50 or $25 in Manhattan, which is about $6.50 a mile. However, with the flat rates, they have flat rates from city anywhere in the city to the Hamptons, starting at $300 or $500 with the SUV service. That's the other thing that they're announcing. With all this question about whether Uber should worry about taxis, if taxi systems are competing, and if it's legal or illegal, Uber's doing it right, and it's just amazing. So check it out. This article over at the at WSJ.com. I can't speak right now. I need some more water here. All right, last part of part 2, and then we're going to get you in the main section right here. Kotaku asked the question, what would happen if Mario was in HD? And it's actually pretty cool. I'm going to show you a quick picture here. And actually, that's not full. Let's do it that way. That's Mario if he was in HD. Now, that doesn't change anything from nowadays, because nowadays, this kind of looks like a 3D Mario. But if the original Super Mario Brothers in 3D, now they're flattening everything out. So I'm wondering if all those images would now be flat, and then we'd be back to what it looked like in the 80s. Possible? I don't know. It's interesting. But they got some images here where somebody actually reconstructed Mario scenes like it would be if the video game was made today, as opposed to back then in the 80s. And of course, coming up is Mario's birthday, as Donkey Kong first was introduced into many of the arcades around the nation. And I got that at Day in Tech History, but I can't remember the exact date. But I know it's this week. I think it's like the 7th that it happens. So anyway, that does it for this section of Geek Smack. We're going to be back, and we're going to talk about the battle for the RRS Reader. Now that Google Reader is gone, we're going to tell you why our Google decided to ditch the Reader. And then, of course, we're going to tell you why I don't really like readers anyway. So we'll be right back. You are watching Geek Smack. If you want to comment, once again, Geekazine is the Twitter handle, and geekazine@gmail.com is the email address. We'll be right back with Geek Smack. With over 700 channels to choose from, the Roku should be part of your entertainment center, and the price is great. You got channels from Amazon to Netflix to Hulu Plus, and of course you can add to your pay channels like HBO Go. You also have Disney for the kids. You have tons of ways to entertain people. Not only movies, but you can also have great games, such as Pac-Man, such as Galaga, and of course, Angry Birds. And that's all through the Roku entertainment system. Now let me show you one channel that's in particular near and dear to my heart, and that's over here, the techpodcast.com channel. If you go to the techpodcast.com channel, you go into the video and you go into tech news, you will find not only iPad 365, Geekazine's special media feed, and then of course the show Geek Smack, all on your Roku right there. So check it out. Prices start at $50 to no more than $100 for all this great entertainment. Do that by going over to geekazine.com/Roku. That's geekazine.com/Roku to get yourself a Roku player and start watching movies, start watching content, and start playing Angry Birds over at geekazine.com/Roku. On July 1st, Google turned off the Reader RSS feed reading service, and it put a lot of people in an uproar, especially since they may have spent years putting together a fully customized list of websites to get their information from. I remember when Reader showed up on October 7th of 2005. At that time, I was experimenting with reader services. I used a service called NewsGator. The service was also free at the time, but then they decided to shift their model to a paid corporate version, ultimately making me go to a different reader. And there were a couple different options out there, But I figured, Google brand new, it's up and rising, looking good, so I'll get that and go from there. Well, Google announced that on their blog that they're closing Reader, and of course, it just happened on Monday, July 1st. The reason why was basically twofold. They state that the usage of Google Reader had declined, and Google is basically streamlining their energy into fewer products. Mostly, they want you to go over to Google Plus and read the news there. Now it's time to make another change. And there's a lot of companies out there that want to pick up where Google Reader left off. Dig came back into the forefront. Now, if you remember, Dig actually brought those little widgets on blogs that said, hey, I want you to say I like this or I don't like this. Dig comes back into the forefront, while Feedly is another service that you can get for your favorite stories. Even a program like Flipboard is available to collect your favorite website data right through your iPad or your iPhone or your Android device. I've actually been an anti-reader for a while now. And the reason why is that sites basically steal your traffic and your news. Understood that people don't like ads on web pages, but they do help pay those bills. When re-aggregators pull your stories, they pull your content only. They don't pull the ads. Well, unless your ads are hard-coded within the RSS. But then you get no revenue if they're not. And that's what hurts the most. And of course, they have links go back, and some say that it's a good promotional tool. However, I figure if they add your website to their reader, the people add your website to their reader, they're probably going to read most of your articles from that reader. In fact, I'd say about 80% of your articles will be read from the reader, and they'll never go to your websites. RSS is that necessity that many websites can pull your data and is offered openly. If you've got an RSS feed, you're basically saying, take the data. I could actually set up a program that does the same thing and direct people to my website to create their own readers if I wanted to. I do recommend Flipboard out of all the readers simply because of the ways that you can get to my website. Now, of course, you'll need a mobile device to actually use Flipboard. I don't think they've made a PC or a Mac version yet, which they should. But there's always been a way for people to actually end up on my website, and I see traffic spikes from that. And I'm really happy about that. So if you decide to choose a new reader, if you're one of those people that actually use a reading service like that, don't forget to give the sites that you read from the return love. Because if you don't, then they close down, and then you've got to find a whole bunch of new sites once again. What are your thoughts on Google Reader? What are your thoughts? Are you going to use Feedly or Dig or one of these other great services out there? Let me know. You can Twitter me over at Geekazine. Of course, geekazine@gmail.com is the email address, and the hotline 608-205-4378. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks of all ages, that does it for this episode of Geek Smack. I hope you had a fun time. If you have any comments, feel free to comment over there. Like I said before, Geekazine is the Twitter handle. Feel free to add me there. If you want to watch live, we'll do it every single Tuesday over at youtube.com/Geekazine. youtube.com/Geekazine. Just follow my Google Plus page, Jeffrey Powers, to get the updates of when we go live with the show. But it's usually about 1 p.m. Eastern every single Tuesday. And then, of course, Wednesday consumption. So you can get you don't get the pre or the post stuff on that. You get all the content. So anyway, my name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. If you're listening to the audio podcast on Stitcher or iTunes, check it all out over there and go from there. So until next week, you guys geek out, and we'll see you then. Have a happy 4th of July, by the way, and celebrate Independence Day, and do it safe, and don't drink and drive. Simple as that. I want to see you here next week. So we'll see you then, and take care. And that's this episode of Geek Smack. Thank you very much. I did one thing that I kind of didn't mention. I don't normally mention personal stuff, but I just wanted to shout out to my dad, who's in the hospital right now. He has diabetes, 73 years old, actually had some toes removed, part of his foot removed because of an infection. Already had one leg gone from an accident years ago. So this is it's been a very tough weekend for us on that. So just wanted to shout out to the family there. So if you're watching, thoughts go out and go from there. So you guys have a happy 4th of July weekend. We'll see you next week on Geek Smack. Jeffrey Powers here. Take care.